All right, I wanted to do an update review. This marks 6 months since I got the 2019 Kodiak 700. Just wanted to do a little update on it. You can see it's got 397 miles and 60.9 hours on the machine since it was new. I'm gonna tell you, I have no complaints about this machine. I mean, it's really it's been reliable. You know, it starts up easy every time I go out and start it. You know, and it runs really smooth. We went on several trips with it out of state. You can check our past videos and see the trail rides from it and all. And you know, I've really been pleased with how smooth it rides and everything. You know, the power and everything. The power to weight ratio is good on it. And done a few things to it. Kind of the things that most people do to the Kodiak and Grizzlies when they get them. Done the EPS airbox mod with the uni air filter, and been really pleased with that kit. In other words, they do a really good job with that and all, you know, making it the right way. And you know, a big part of it is this CNC billet flange that they make, and they also, you know, modify these compartments up here on the airbox. Take that lid off of it. You know, it's a plastic lid on there to start with. They take that off, you know, modify, give you these pieces of foam air filter media. Now this right here, this outerwear pre-filter thing right here, I got by a company called Filter Wares. And basically, when you're riding in real dusty areas, it you know, it catches the fine dust and dirt particles and everything before it actually gets to your main air filter. And I've been really pleased with it. I've had it on there, I reckon it's probably been several months now, probably 3 months at least. And you know, it catches the dust on the outside of it, so it keeps your filter on the your actual foam filter under there cleaner longer. And this right here, you just take and pull it off, and you can wash it up under a faucet, and then it doesn't absorb water, so you know, it dries real quick, and then you can put it right back on. So basically, like if you're out on a ride somewhere and you're riding in real dusty conditions and stuff, you can take it off. You know, like you get back from riding at camp, wash it off, and put it back on, be ready for the next day, and then your foam filter is clean still, you know, up underneath there. I actually bought one of these for the Kodiak and for the Rancher. A big deciding factor for that was after we came back from Durham town and it was so dusty back during the summertime that I knew that I needed to do something or another, you know, to you know, try and extend the service interval of the main air filter from getting dirty so quick, you know. And so after we got back from that trip, I invested in these, one for the Kodiak and one for the Rancher, and so it's made a big difference, you know. Like I said, it does the job of what I was looking for it to do, and I'd highly recommend one of them. There's another company called Outerwear Pre-Filters. Outerwears, I think, is the company, and I ended up going with this brand. It's essentially the same thing, it's just a different company. Anyway, we've been real pleased with that. Like I said, I've had no issues out of the EPS Racing airbox mod. I've got the uni filter. That really worked for me, taking care of the issue, you know, with the airbox sealing up. Now, I didn't really have an issue per se that I noticed, but see, I put this on early on because I knew I was getting ready to go somewhere that was going to be really dusty, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't have any dust getting inside the engine on that trip. So hang on a second, let me put the seat back. All right. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't have any risk of any dust getting inside the engine, you know, going on a trip like that where I knew the dust would be an issue, you know, big time. Another thing I did too, I don't know if we'll be able to see it on camera from this angle or not, but I'll try to get down in here and maybe we'll be able to see it, I don't know. Under here, right about basically right behind those hoses there, it's two Allen screws where you see my finger pointing, right there beside the exhaust manifold and header. It's a block-off plate made by a company called, well, it's a guy, it's his company, I guess it's just one guy, it's called Mr. Cuervo Racing. I got that off of eBay. What it is an AIS block-off plate, which Yamaha sells those through their performance department for the YFZ450, I believe is one of them, and they may do it for some of the dirt bikes as well. They don't actually do it for the utility model four-wheelers like the Grizzly and the Kodiak, so you have to go aftermarket with that. At least it was that way last time I checked. But I put that on there. What that's doing is it's an emissions thing, the AIS air injection system. It injects fresh air from the airbox through a solenoid and reed valve combination, and it injects that fresh oxygen into the exhaust stream, and it's supposed to help aid the catalytic converter inside the muffler in burning hotter, which there in turn burns the emissions off better. The downside of it is, and the reason that I blocked it off, and the reason a lot of people block it off is because occasionally you'll get popping in the exhaust. Kind of sounds like popcorn popping in a bag, or or something like that. Sometimes it'd be louder than that, and it sometimes people complain about it being annoying on a ride. Mine didn't do it terrible, but when I first got it I noticed it, and so I had already read about it, just like I had about the airbox thing before I bought the machine, so I knew it was something I was going to do eventually. And the piece is only like, the block off plate's only like I think 20 bucks if I remember right. It's CNC billet aluminum, so it's but it does the job. I mean, I don't hear any popping now, and like I said, the other disadvantage for it is aside from the popping, is that the whole object of that emissions device, the AIS, is to raise the EGTs of the exhaust, which EGTs, if you don't know, stands for exhaust gas temperature. and it raises that exhaust gas temperature up really hot, like I said, to make the catalytic converter function more efficiently. So by blocking that off, you lower the EGTs, which, you know, a lot of people, they're always talking about heat and stuff like that, you know, engine heat and all. And I'm gonna be honest with you, my experience since I did that mod, it never bothered me too terrible to begin with, the engine heat. I mean, you know, I really, it didn't bother me that bad, but I did notice a big difference in the temperature once I did that AIS block off plate. And you know, it stands to reason, because if you lower the EGTs, well, then the exhaust is going to be somewhat cooler than it was. So I attribute that to being the reason why I'm noticing a reduction in the heat. I really think the culprit was the exhaust to begin with, you know, because of the high EGTs. But anyway, so really that's the only two mods that I've done to this machine, is the EPS Racing Uni Air Box mod with the filter and all, and the AIS block off plate. I haven't changed anything else about it. I'm not running a tuner. Not changed anything about the exhaust. And I like it. I mean, you know, I like it that way. I'll be honest with you, it actually, in stock trim the way it is, based on my ears of being around both machines and stuff like that, it surprised me as well. But this this four-wheeler is actually quieter than the Rancher is in stock trim. It's just the exhaust on it. It just is not, you know, it's not quite as noisy as the Rancher is, and that's just a personal observation. Now, if you put some kind of different tip on one of these, or a different pipe or something like that, now that's, you know, that's a whole different ball game. Then they're definitely going to be louder. But stock trim, though, it's based on my experience, is quieter than my Rancher is, and I like that. You know, I mean, I like it that way. It makes it pleasant for long rides and things like that. And then if you're, you know, you're like around home and stuff, working and stuff, and it's late, you know, or it's got dark or something like that, you know, it's not so noisy that it's bothering somebody else, that kind of thing, and they can hear it for far off distance and stuff like that. So I like it for that reason, you know. And like I said, I was kind of surprised about it. And to be honest with you, I actually think, well, I don't think, but I know from my experience that when I blocked off the AIS, the machine actually got quieter. And part of that I know was because when I first installed the EPS Racing Airbox mod, because they removed that little plate up in that front chamber of the airbox where the AIS comes in and the crankcase breather comes in, that plastic plate is taken off, and they put those foam air filter blocks up there. Well, when I first installed it, I had not gotten the block off plate for the AIS yet, and you heard it. It had a more noticeable kind of guttural sound coming from the airbox, which, being the airbox is right there under the seat, you would hear it when you rode. You would hear that AIS drawing that air through the airbox, you know, and it kind of, I don't really know how to describe the noise, but I mean, it had a more noticeable sound through the airbox, basically because that AIS from the airbox is linked to the exhaust header manifold area up there. So you got a lot more noise. But long story short, once I blocked off that AIS with that plate, that noise went away, and the machine got even quieter then. So, I mean, I know that may not be, you know, that may not be the most popular opinion, to have a machine that's quiet, you know. I mean, to each his own, you know, but I'm enjoying it that way right now. So, I mean, I've thought about putting an exhaust on it and everything, but to be honest with you, I like it the way it is, and I really like the fact of it being quiet like that, because it works in a lot of different scenarios and environments, you know, that I use this machine in. So I enjoy it being quiet like that. I will say one thing, this little reflector right here, it was one right here, it broke off on one of the rides. I don't know where it went, but just got to looking after the ride, and it was a reflector just like that one there, and it just broke off. But I mean, if you look at it, you know, you see it's not much holding it on right there, you know, just a little small weld. I think part of that culprit, the reason it broke when I got it, this particular reflector right here that was here, when I got it from the dealer, it was slightly bent inward. I think, you know, somebody had bumped it or hit it and bent it. And I took and just kind of lightly with my hand bent it out straight. And you know how it is with metal and stuff like that. You bend it a couple of times and it's thin and it'll just snap off eventually. But that's basically, I assume, what happened. Probably the vibration or something, you know, going down the trail, and it came off. But anyway, that's not really anything to lose any sleep over. I mean, I quite frankly don't really care for the reflectors anyway being on there. But one thing, talking about, if I will say this now, I mean, this, again, it's not a big thing, but I'll mention it. I get down here. So you see right here is the coolant recovery bottle for the radiator coolant. One thing I will say is this would probably be a complaint I could have, you know, about the machine. It's not a big complaint, because, I mean, I haven't had to add coolant to it but one time, and that was right after I brought it home. After I was in the break-in period, I just had to top the coolant off just a little bit. Not a big deal, wasn't any leaks or anything like that. It's pretty typical during the break-in period to have to do that. But that coolant bottle, now you can see the bottom of it right there, but the actual marks where the high and low cold fuel range is at is up behind this plastic here. And I don't really understand why it's hidden like that, to where it makes it, you literally have to, you know, get way up under here to try to see behind this plastic, to see those marks. Because, and it's like that on the Grizzly and the Kodiak, except for the Kodiak 450 model. The 450, its coolant bottle is right much easier to view and is not blocked by fender plastic. So that is kind of a complaint. I mean, you know, it's definitely not as easy to get to as on the Rancher, and it's also not as easy to see from a standpoint of just glancing at it before a ride. I mean, you really got to get under there and kind of, you know, kind of crook your head under there to see. And then of course, the easiest way to do it is, you know, taking these side panels off, which we have a video on. And I mean, if you have to add coolant to it, you're gonna have to take these side panels off anyway to get to the cap on that coolant bottle. But you know, it's just a little small gripe I have. I mean, it's not a real big deal. I mean, you know, but I'd say that could be, you know, a slight complaint I have about it. You know, something that Yamaha could have done differently. They could have just put this in a more open area. I mean, I understand they're trying to protect it, but if they had kind of just put it, you know, even if they put it up here in this compartment up here, that when you took the cover off to get to the battery and fuses and stuff, that you could get to it that way. That would be kind of nice, you know, if they did it that way. Keep it up out of harm's way, but still having it easy to feel and check the level of it. So like I said, they could have done better on that. One other thing, and this is kind of a hit and miss item. Not every Yamaha Kodiak or Grizzly has this issue, the 700s, but I have heard about it, and I had this issue. It was right after I first got it also. Is this exhaust shield right here, and you may not be able to see what I'm talking about. This exhaust shield here on the other side, it's just like this. It comes down basically on the back side here. But you have a frame rail right here where my finger's running on. Well, right where my finger's at, like I said, it's gonna be hard for you guys to see on camera, but where I'm pointing at, the other side of this guard that's like this edge here was really close to the frame rail. And what was happening was, is at certain RPMs and certain speeds is where I would notice it at. Usually it was like 10 miles an hour and below, usually below 10 miles an hour. You'd hear like a little chirping sound, a squeak, kind of chirping, metal on metal squeaking sound. Couldn't figure out where it was coming from. I got to talking to some of the members on Kodiak owners forum online. That's a good forum, you know, if you guys have these machines. You know, there are a lot of people on there that have a lot of good knowledge. Anyway, somebody chimed in and said that they had a similar issue, and it was this heat shield here on their exhaust, and they said try checking that. Well, when I did, I could tell that that exhaust shield on the other side had been rubbing the paint off of this frame rail here a little bit. And you know, it's probably when it was running, this exhaust can do like this when the engine's running. It's mounted on rubber, you know, exhaust mounts and everything. That's to quell vibration. So sometimes when the engine's running, the exhaust does this number. It's moving with the motor. It's made to do that. You know, it's got to have some flexibility in it. Otherwise, it would be cracking at the welds and stuff over time. But anyway, that allowed that small amount of clearance, allowing it to touch on that frame rail there. So I took and loosened up the clamps on this exhaust shield, and I was able to shift that exhaust shield just the least little bit, and it gained me a little bit more clearance between it and the frame. Tightened everything back up, and ever since I did that, I haven't heard the noise again. So again, it was just a small little thing, you know. It wasn't really a big thing. It was kind of a concerning noise. You didn't really know what it was, but I'm glad it seems like it got to the bottom of it. So that's, you know, that's good and all. And I'll be honest with you, I really think, being honest, that so far that's really the only two problems I've had. You know, I can't recall anything else that I know of that is, you know, and like I said, those are just small little things, you know. They're not anything that should keep somebody from buying the machine. You know, when I got this machine, I was a little bit concerned possibly about fuel, you know, the amount of fuel it would use, you know, being that it was 700. I'm gonna be honest with you, I've actually been really impressed with the fuel mileage on it. I really have. I think it does really good, actually. It's got just under a 5-gallon tank, but you know, you can ride for a long time on a day's ride, and we would be at Durhamtown and ride all day, start out with a full tank, and this machine and the Rancher would both be at half a tank by the end of the day. And so the Rancher has about a 3.5 or 3, it may be a 3.7 gallon gas tank, and this is more like 4.8 gallons. And the Rancher's a 420, this is a 700. So, you know, But I mean, I can't complain about that. That's really good, to be honest with you. So I mean, I don't, the fuel issue, if you're concerned about that, that's really not an issue with one of these machines. And I mean, too, it also depends on how you ride. I mean, if you're out there dogging it the whole time you're riding, it doesn't really matter what you're riding, the gas is going to go quicker. I mean, that's just science of it. I mean, you know, you're not going to get around that, you know. So but it, you know, a mixture of riding between getting into it and cruising and stuff like that, it's really, yeah, I mean, I've not got any complaints about that. I like this storage compartment right here, you know, up by the where the gas tank typically would be. Very deep, you know. I mean, I've got my gloves in there right now. We call this the hot box because it does get pretty warm in there, you know, especially in the hotter months, because I mean, this is right on top of the cylinder head here. I wouldn't put anything, I really wouldn't put my phone or something like that in there, because you're probably gonna get that error message, you know, like your phone got too hot or something like that. But it's great for keeping gloves warm, or if you got some kind of food or something you want to keep warm. It's, you know, that's a good thing, you know, about it. It would be kind of nice if the Kodiak got the same storage as the Grizzlies did. You know, the Grizzly gets that kind of jar lid type kind of water resistant, watertight storage thing here on this fender. And the Grizzly also gets a compartment back here where the tail light is. But it's not a big deal. I mean, you know, really, to be honest with you, when I'm riding, that compartment up there, up by the seat, is actually more than enough for me. And then, of course, we've got the cargo box on the Rancher for the bigger items and things like that. So, I mean, really can't complain. I think more for me, what would be nice about having those compartments that the Grizzly has is, like, say for instance, this compartment over here is not going to be subject to engine heat like this one would. But, you know, again, I'm not, that's not really anything, I mean, that bugs me that much. And I go back to saying too, you know, that this compartment up here where they put the battery and the fuses in is nice. CVT intake there, and fuses, battery. And this right here, you know, it gets dirty. I mean, I know right now it looks like it came off the showroom floor, but I wash this out every time I ride. I mean, it gets dirty when you ride, because this is a scoop here for air intake that feeds right into this, comes right up back in there. And so you get dust and, you know, and all kinds of, you know, stuff up in there. But the good thing about it is that this whole thing is like in a bucket, and Yamaha drilled drain holes in the bottom of it so that when you wash this, you know, all that drains out the bottom and everything. So I just spray Simple Green on it and rinse it with light pressure, and I always block this off. I put a bag over this so that water doesn't go down there and get in the CVT when I'm washing it. But, you know, it's it works, you know. I mean, it's nice having everything like that in a nice compartment like that up front, easy to get to. Like I said, I do wish they'd put that coolant recovery bottle in there. It's not a big deal, but it would have been nice if they'd have just put it somewhere it was easier to check the level on it. But yeah, I don't have any, I really don't have any major complaints with it. Haven't had any real problems with it. You know, it's reliable. It's, it's powerful for, for what it is. It's got a good power to weight ratio, and I'm gonna tell you, I mean, for me, I can tell you, it'll get on down the trail. If you mash into it, it don't have no problem getting out of its own way. And it's just a lot of fun to ride. It's a lot of fun to ride. It's a lot of fun to work with. And I'd highly recommend it to anybody. I mean, I'm loving the Ultramatic transmission. I really do. I think it's one of the best CVTs on the market. You don't get any belt slip. It's the closest thing to a gear-on-gear transmission like Honda's got, in my opinion. If you're gonna go with a CVT, it's gonna be the closest thing I've experienced. And I hear a lot of people talk about the headlights, and everybody these days, they gotta put a light bar on stuff and everything like that. Personally, I don't like light bars. I mean, sure, they put out a lot of light and everything, but I don't think they look good. And quite frankly, the headlights on this machine right here are wicked bright, in my opinion. I've ridden in the dark with them on high and low beam, and I'll be honest with you, I mean, I use the machine at night for working and riding, and just because it doesn't show up on the channel, I don't record every time I take the machine out. I mean, I don't record every time I do that. So, but they're plenty bright for me. I don't know, really, I've heard people, use the sarcastic comment of them being like candles and this, that, and the other, but quite frankly, I think the headlights are plenty bright, at least for my, what I'm doing and everything. So, one thing I will mention is this, I noticed about it, and this is a really cool feature, and this is something you get on the Kodiak. You don't get it on the Grizzly. Like when you cut the lights on, and your tail light is on back here. See that light on my hand there? The white light, bottom of this tail light lens here is clear on the bottom. Yamaha did it like that so that when you're back here hooking up the hitch at night, you can see what you're doing with this light on, projecting light down onto the trailer hitch, so you can see how to hook up the trailer in the dark. That's cool right there. I mean, it's just a little small thought like that goes a long way as to helping you out to know, to see what you're doing, in the dark. But like I said, the Grizzly doesn't get that because it's got a LED tail light that's a whole different setup than this. So that's one good benefit. I don't know if many people pick up on, with the Kodiaks, that because they have that incandescent tail light back there, that they have that clear lens on the bottom of it that lights up the trailer hitch. But yeah, like I said, I'm really pleased with it. I'm pleased with the tires. I'm planning on leaving them like they are, and wearing them out before I get new ones. They work for me. They get good traction. They ride good, and I'm gonna put miles on them, wear them out before I go and invest in something else, because I don't have any reason to replace them right now. Save my money, But yeah, that about does it. I mean, like I said, I really don't have anything really bad to say about the machine. I love riding it. I'm glad I decided to go and try out Yamaha, and year, I'll do another review on it, you know, and stay tuned for our ride videos. You can see it in